A young girl with a red backpack walked purposefully through the crowd. When she turned to avoid a puddle, the collar of her coat shifted, revealing something that made Alexander's coffee cup crash to the floor. A crescent-shaped birthmark, with a small dot beside it, identical to his own. In that frozen moment, 13 years of buried history resurfaced. Alexander had never seen anyone else with this distinctive mark. Doctors had always told him it was genetically unique. This wasn't a coincidence. This was blood. Could this 12-year-old girl be connected to him? And if so, how had he never known? Before we reveal what Alexander discovered next, have you ever experienced a moment that instantly changed your life's direction, or a hidden family relation you never knew existed? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know where you're watching from. Have you ever wondered if fate leaves physical marks on us? What would you do if a single glance at a stranger completely shattered your reality? Today we're about to witness how one unexpected moment changed everything for Boston tech magnate Alexander Harrington. From his corner office on the 60th floor of Meridian Tower, Alexander Harrington commanded an empire worth $850 million, 0 cents. The view from his window stretched across the harbor, reflecting his vast success, gleaming, cold, and ultimately empty. 7 years after his divorce, Alexander's life had become a perfectly crafted illusion of achievement that masked a profound emptiness. But have you noticed how life's most significant moments often arrive without warning? On an ordinary Tuesday morning, as Alexander reviewed quarterly projections, his gaze drifted downward to the street below. Within hours, Alexander confirmed his suspicion. Olivia Martinez, born February 18, 2013. Exactly when he'd been in a relationship with nursing student Sophia Martinez. The question wasn't whether this girl was his daughter, but why he never knew she existed. Long before Alexander Harrington became the titan of technology worth $850 million, 0 cents, he was just another college dropout with an obsession for coding. At 22, he sold his car to rent a tiny basement office in Cambridge, sleeping on a futon between marathon programming sessions. His first app, a simple productivity tool, caught the attention of venture capitalists, who saw potential where others saw only risk. Success didn't come overnight. Alexander faced bankruptcy twice, survived a hostile takeover attempt, and once pawned his grandfather's watch to make payroll. What separated him from countless failed entrepreneurs wasn't just brilliance, it was relentless determination. "I don't believe in backup plans," he often told new employees. "They only distract you from making Plan A work." This single-minded focus built Pinnacle Innovations into a tech powerhouse, but extracted a steep personal cost. His marriage to Catherine, once featured in Fortune magazine as Silicon Valley's power couple, dissolved after 5 years. She cited emotional abandonment in divorce papers that Alexander barely took time to read. Photographs in Alexander's penthouse showed the evolution of a man. The young entrepreneur with bright eyes and an easy smile gradually transformed into the hard-edged CEO with tailored suits and a practiced media presence. The birthmark on his neck, once prominently displayed, became hidden beneath high collars and carefully angled photos. "The mark makes you unique," his mother had told him throughout childhood. "It's how the universe signed its masterpiece." But uniqueness became isolation as Alexander climbed higher. Board members, partners, employees? None were friends, merely satellites orbiting his success. His calendar was scheduled in 15-minute increments, relationships reduced to appointments between conference calls. Even his romantic life followed strict parameters. Brief relationships with accomplished women who understood his limited emotional availability. The pattern was consistent. Initial attraction, 3 months of calculated dates, then mutual separation when deeper connection threatened his control. The most telling feature of Alexander's penthouse wasn't what it contained, but what it lacked. No family photos beyond his deceased parents. No mementos from relationships. No evidence of hobbies or passions outside work. His living space resembled an upscale hotel suite, expertly designed, but ultimately impersonal. Yet beneath this perfectly constructed facade remained traces of the person he might have been. A telescope on his balcony, a collection of science fiction novels hidden in his study, a habit of donating anonymously to educational charities, focusing on underprivileged children. Have you ever sacrificed personal connections for professional success? Would you trade wealth for the years of memories Alexander missed? Comment below with your thoughts on what makes a life truly rich. While Alexander built his empire from gleaming heights, 12-year-old Olivia Martinez navigated life from a third-floor walk-up in Dorchester. Their apartment was small but meticulously kept, a home warmed more by love than square footage. Every morning at 5:30, Sofia Martinez rose for her early hospital shift, preparing lunch for Olivia before kissing her sleeping daughter's forehead. Notes appeared in Olivia's lunchbox daily: ace that math test, or remember, you're brilliant and brave. When Sofia worked night shifts, Olivia prepared simple dinners, completed homework alone, and left sticky notes for her mother. Lasagna in the fridge. I got an A on my science project. This wasn't the childhood Sofia had planned for her daughter, but necessity had forged Olivia into something remarkable. Independent yet compassionate, serious but with flashes of unexpected humor. Unlike her classmates at Boston Preparatory Academy, Olivia didn't vacation in Europe or attend summer camps in Maine. Her scholarship covered tuition, but not the subtle social currency of wealth. She wore confinement shop uniforms and brought homemade lunches while classmates compared designer labels and discussed vacation homes. "Why don't I have a dad?" Olivia had asked at age 7. Watching fathers attend school events, Sofia had shown her a faded photograph of a younger Alexander. "Your father was brilliant and kind, but he moved away before I knew about you. He would have loved you very much." This carefully preserved image became central to Olivia's identity. Half her genetic code, half her history, explained by a single photograph and vague stories. The crescent birthmark on Olivia's neck became both burden and badge. In elementary school, children had teased her about the weird moon thing. By middle school, she'd learned to cover it with scarves or high collars, revealing it only to close friends as something special that connected her to the father she'd never met. "Mom says it's extremely rare," she told her best friend Zoe. "Maybe someday he'll see it and recognize me." What might seem like childish fantasy revealed Olivia's deeper truth. Despite her practiced self-sufficiency, she harbored an empty space shaped exactly like the father she'd never known. Her room told the story of interests Alexander couldn't know they shared. Astronomy books stacked beside her bed, a chessboard with a game in progress, math competition medals hanging beside art projects. Most telling was her science fair project, Genetic Inheritance: What Makes Us Who We Are. Each night, Olivia stood before her mirror, touching the crescent mark, and wondering about the man who shared this distinctive trait. Never suspecting he was wondering the same about her. Sometimes the people we're meant to find are closer than we could possibly imagine. For 3 days following his shocking discovery, Alexander Harrington, the man who made billion-dollar decisions without hesitation, found himself paralyzed by uncertainty. His executive team noticed his distraction during meetings, his sudden cancellations, the way he drifted to the window at the same time each morning. "Cancel my appointments for the rest of the week," he instructed Lena, who raised an eyebrow but knew better than to question him. Alone in his office, Alexander pulled up an old photo album on his secure cloud drive, digital memories he rarely accessed. There she was, Sofia Martinez, 13 years younger, her smile radiant as she leaned against him on a Boston Commons bench. They'd dated for 11 months, during his company's initial growth phase. The relationship had been intense but brief, ending when his first major investor demanded his undivided attention. Alexander dialed the private investigator he kept on retainer, a former FBI agent who handled corporate espionage cases. "I need information on Sofia Martinez and her daughter Olivia. Full background, medical records, school reports, everything." The PI's voice remained neutral. "Custody case?" "No," Alexander replied. "Paternity confirmation." Within 48 hours, a comprehensive file arrived. Alexander locked his office door before opening it. The evidence was compelling. Olivia's birth certificate listed no father. Sofia had never filed for child support. Medical records showed Olivia's blood type was compatible with his. School reports revealed exceptional aptitude in mathematics and sciences, just like him at that age. Most damning were the phone records. In the months following their breakup, Sofia had called his office 27 times. Each call lasted less than 2 minutes. Long enough to be rejected by his assistant, but not long enough to leave a detailed message. Alexander's hands trembled as he called his former assistant, now retired. "Marion, did you ever receive calls from Sofia Martinez after we broke up?" The pause told him everything. You instructed me to screen personal calls during the Series A funding. She called repeatedly, but you were adamant about focusing on business. Did she say why she was calling? Another pause. She said it was urgent, that she needed to tell you something important. I told her you'd moved on. Alexander's world tilted. A daughter. He had a daughter he'd never known, growing up just miles from his office. A child who shared his blood, his birthmark, perhaps his talents and traits. 12 years of birthdays, school events, nightmares, and triumphs. All missed because of a well-intentioned assistant following his own short-sighted orders. The weight of this revelation crushed the air from his lungs. He'd built an empire while remaining oblivious to his greatest creation. What would you do after discovering a child you never knew existed? Would you disrupt their life with your sudden appearance, or let them continue without your interference? Comment below with your thoughts, and subscribe to hear what Alexander decided next. On day 7, Alexander made his decision. He wouldn't hide behind investigators or lawyers. No more missed opportunities. No more messages intercepted. He researched Sophia's work schedule at Boston General Hospital and chose a quiet cafe nearby. At 4:30 p.m., he sent a simple text message to her old number, hoping it remained the same. Sophia, it's Alexander Harrington. I need to speak with you about Olivia. Please meet me at Riverside Cafe tomorrow at 5 p.m. The response came 3 hours later. Just 3 words that changed everything. I'll be there. Alexander arrived 30 minutes early, securing a private corner table at Riverside Cafe. He'd changed his suit twice that morning, discarding his power ties for something less intimidating. For perhaps the first time in his adult life, he wasn't trying to project authority. He was seeking forgiveness. At precisely 5:00 p.m., Sophia Martinez entered. 13 years had transformed the nursing student into a confident medical professional, her scrubs exchanged for simple business casual attire. Her eyes found him immediately. No hesitation, no surprise. She'd expected him to look different, perhaps. But recognition flashed across her face with unmistakable clarity. She sat without ordering, maintaining the composed demeanor of someone accustomed to crisis management. Alexander, she said, her voice neither warm nor cold. I wondered if this day would come. The rehearsed speech dissolved in his mind, replaced by the only question that mattered. Why didn't you tell me about our daughter? Sophia's expression hardened. 13 years of single motherhood crystallized in her gaze. I called your office 27 times in the first month alone. Your assistant said you were unavailable, traveling, in meetings, always with the same message. Mr. Harrington has moved on. I sent 3 letters to your business address. They were returned unopened. She pulled a yellowed envelope from her bag, sliding it across the table. The return address stamp showed it had been marked, Return to Sender. After 3 months of trying, I made my decision. If you didn't want to be found, I wouldn't force my child to chase a father who didn't want her. Music intensifies with emotional undertones. Alexander stared at the envelope, his empire suddenly meaningless against this small paper rectangle, containing a truth he'd never read. I never received any messages, he whispered, the revelation crushing him. My assistant was instructed to filter personal matters during our critical funding period. I never knew you were trying to reach me, and now? Sophia's voice remained steady. Why are you here now, after 12 years? I saw Olivia walking past my building last week. She has my birthmark. The professional mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the young woman he'd once known. Yes, identical to yours. The doctors were amazed. They said it was genetically unusual, especially in that exact formation. Music shifts to more emotional tone. She's my daughter, Alexander said, the words still strange on his tongue. I've missed 12 years of her life because of my own short-sightedness. What do you want, Alexander? You can't just walk into her life and disrupt everything she knows. Money? Is that what you think we need? The accusation stung worse than he'd anticipated. I want to know her. To be her father, not just biologically, but in her life. I know I have no right to ask this, but I'm asking anyway. Sophia studied him, weighing 12 years of single parenthood against the man now sitting before her. She's asked about you her entire life, created elaborate stories about who you might be. The birthmark made her feel connected to you somehow. She believes it's how she'll recognize you someday. Alexander's throat tightened. And what have you told her about me? That you were brilliant, kind when it mattered, that you didn't know about her. I never vilified you, Alexander. Children need heroes, not disappointments. Music builds tension. Does she know my name? No. Just that old photograph from Boston Commons. I told her you moved away before I knew about the pregnancy. Alexander leaned forward, choosing his next words carefully. I want to meet her, Sophia, not as a millionaire or CEO, just as the man in that photograph. The person who shares her birthmark. Sophia's protective instinct flashed in her eyes. And if she rejects you? If it's too much for her to process? Will you disappear again when things become difficult? The question demanded absolute honesty. I've built a company that will outlast me. I've accumulated wealth beyond necessity, but I've never created anything as important as her. I won't abandon her again, even if she decides she doesn't want me in her life. After what felt like hours, Sophia nodded slowly. We start slowly. I'll introduce you as an old friend first. She deserves to know you before she learns who you are. And Alexander, her voice hardened again, if you hurt her, no amount of money or power will protect you from me. The threat wasn't empty, and Alexander respected her more for it. When can I meet her? Sunday afternoon, our apartment. I'll tell her tonight that an old friend is visiting. As Sophia gathered her purse to leave, Alexander asked the question burning in his chest. Does she hate me? Sophia's expression softened slightly. No, Alexander. That's the miracle of Olivia. She doesn't hate. She just wants to understand. Sunday arrived with agonizing slowness. Alexander spent hours selecting the right clothes. Nothing too formal, nothing that screamed wealth. He settled on dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt that didn't completely conceal his birthmark. For the first time in years, he wouldn't hide this distinctive feature. He parked his modest backup car 3 blocks from their apartment building in Dorchester. No driver, no security, just a man carrying a carefully selected gift bag containing a beginner's telescope. If Olivia shared his interest in astronomy, perhaps this could be their first connection. The apartment building was well maintained but modest. Alexander climbed to the 3rd floor, heart pounding with each step. Sophia opened the door before he could knock, her expression guarded yet not unkind. She's nervous, Sophia whispered. Be patient. The apartment was small but immaculately kept. Family photos lined the walls. Olivia through various ages, always with Sophia, never with a father figure. Science fair ribbons and academic certificates created a timeline of achievements across one wall. Olivia, Sophia called. Our guest is here. Alexander heard movement from the hallway. Then she appeared, the girl from the sidewalk, but now in sharp focus. Her dark hair was pulled back, emphasizing features that mirrored his mother's. She wore a turtleneck that concealed her birthmark, just as he had done at her age when feeling insecure. Mom says you knew me when I was a baby, Olivia said cautiously, maintaining distance. Alexander nodded, struggling to maintain composure. I did, yes. She studied him with analytical precision, her head tilting slightly. His own mannerism reflected back at him. You look familiar somehow. Do I? He managed, his voice nearly failing. Yes, she said, her eyes narrowing. She reached up unconsciously to touch her neck where the birthmark lay hidden beneath fabric. Something shifted in her expression. Recognition dawning. Her gaze moved to a framed photograph on the bookshelf. Sophia with a younger Alexander. Then back to him, specifically to his collar where his own birthmark was partially visible. The room grew impossibly still. Mom always said my birthmark came from my father, Olivia said slowly, her voice dropping to a whisper. She stepped closer, studying his face with new understanding. Are you my father? The rehearsed introduction evaporated. With trembling hands, Alexander turned down his collar fully, revealing the crescent mark identical to hers. Yes, Olivia, he said, voice breaking. I believe I am. Sophia moved to Olivia's side, protective arm around her shoulders. I wanted you both to meet first, to see if you connected before. You have the same birthmark, Olivia interrupted, still processing. The exact same one. Alexander nodded, uncertain what to say next. Why didn't you find us before? The question contained no accusation, only genuine curiosity. I didn't know about you, Alexander answered honestly, until I saw you walking past my building last week. I recognized our birthmark immediately. Olivia looked to her mother for confirmation. It's true, Sophia said gently. I tried to tell him, but we lost contact before I knew I was pregnant. Olivia's scientific mind worked through this new data. So, you didn't abandon us? Never, Alexander said firmly. I would have been here from the first day if I'd known. Family secrets can change lives in an instant. Has someone from your past reappeared unexpectedly? How did you handle it? Share your experiences in the comments and like this video if Olivia's story resonates with you. The weeks that followed operated like a carefully designed experiment. Controlled variables, measured interactions, observed results. Alexander visited twice weekly, each meeting a delicate balance between getting to know his daughter and not overwhelming her with his sudden presence. They began with safe topics. Olivia's science fair project on genetic inheritance became both ironic and perfect common ground. Alexander brought books on astronomy, chess sets, and mathematical puzzles, unknowingly, selecting the very interests she'd developed without his influence. It's strange, Sophia confided during one of his visits. Watching you two solve problems together. She approaches challenges exactly as you do. Systematic, analytical, persistent. Nature versus nurture played out before their eyes. Olivia had inherited more than just Alexander's birthmark. DNA tests confirmed what the birthmark had already proven. Alexander was undeniably Olivia's father. The scientific validation mattered less than the emotional one developing through shared moments. Alexander teaching Olivia to use the telescope on her building's roof. Olivia showing him her collection of spacebooks, both of them discussing theories about dark matter with identical enthusiasm. Not every moment came easily. During their 5th meeting, Olivia asked the question that had been building. Are you going to disappear again? The directness, another trait they shared, caught Alexander off guard. No, he promised. I've missed too much already. I'm here for as long as you want me to be. Even when I mess up or when I'm not exceptional? The question revealed a vulnerability beneath her confidence, a fear that perhaps his interest depended on her achievements. Especially then, Alexander answered. Being your father isn't conditional. Small breakthroughs emerged in unexpected moments, Olivia unconsciously adjusting her collar the same way Alexander did when concentrating, both of them alphabetizing books without discussion, their identical frown when confronted with inefficiency. For Alexander, board meetings and quarterly reports faded in importance compared to parent-teacher conferences and Olivia's science competitions. His executive team noticed the shift. The CEO, who once worked 18-hour days, now left promptly at 5, twice weekly, declining evening networking events without explanation. The market value of Pinnacle Innovations remained unchanged, but Alexander Harrington's personal value system underwent complete transformation. 4 months after their first meeting, Alexander shocked his board of directors by announcing a major life change. The executive who once claimed, "My office is my home," purchased a penthouse apartment just 3 blocks from Olivia's school. My priorities have shifted, he told his concerned CFO. The company will continue to thrive, but my evening hours now belong to someone else. The man who once scheduled bathroom breaks now blocked entire weekends as unavailable in his calendar. His executive assistant learned not to interrupt him during Olivia's school events or their Tuesday night astronomy sessions on his new rooftop terrace. In the Martinez apartment, changes appeared more subtly. A 2nd bedroom desk for homework sessions, college fund statements in Sophia's filing cabinet, a father's signature on permission slips. Hesitant at first, then increasingly confident, the adjustment wasn't seamless. 13 years created patterns that couldn't instantly transform. Olivia still turned to Sophia first in moments of crisis. Alexander sometimes retreated to work when emotions became overwhelming. Sophia navigated her own complex feelings about co-parenting with the man whose absence had shaped her adult life. Yet something remarkable emerged from their awkward beginnings. Not the perfect family from greeting cards, but something authentic, built on honesty, effort, and the genetic connection made visible through their matching birthmarks. Alexander's executive coach noticed the change during their monthly session. You seem different, she observed, more present. Alexander considered this. For years I've measured success by market share and profit margins. Now I measure it by a 12-year-old's smile when I help with her homework. Sometimes our greatest achievements aren't the ones that appear on balance sheets. On Olivia's 13th birthday, Alexander hosted a small celebration in his new home. The guest list reflected their evolving reality. Sophia and her parents, Olivia's best friends, and Alexander's mother, who flew in specifically to meet her only grandchild. As Olivia opened her presents, Alexander handed her a small blue box. Inside lay a silver necklace with a crescent moon pendant, tiny diamonds forming the distinctive dot beside it. So you'll always remember, he said, his voice catching. Some marks aren't just coincidences. They're connections that bring people together, even after years apart. As he fastened the chain around her neck, the pendant rested just above her birthmark, silver echo of the genetic signature they shared. Later that evening, as guests departed, Alexander stood on his terrace, watching the sunset. Sophia joined him, their relationship now transformed into something neither could have predicted. She asked me something interesting today, Sophia said. She wanted to know if I regret how everything happened. Tensed. What did you tell her? That I regret the years she missed with you, but I could never regret the journey that made her who she is. Across the terrace, Olivia adjusted her telescope, the silver pendant catching the fading light. I spent years building something I thought would last, Alexander said quietly, never realizing my true legacy was walking to school past my window every day. As Alexander watched Olivia track a distant planet through her telescope, he realized that all his success had been leading him to this moment. A second chance at the family he never knew he had, recognized by a birthmark that mirrored his own. Some connections transcend time and circumstance. Has someone unexpected changed your life's direction? Share your story in the comments below. If this journey touched you, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to join us for more powerful stories of connection and discovery.